Good evening. At this time, I'd like to call to order the Planning Commission meeting of May 23rd, 2022. For viewers watching at home, commissioners and members of the public are participating via video conference or teleconference. This time, I ask that you please stand and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Commissioner Buss?
Present.
Commissioner Lanson?
Also present.
Commissioner Ling?
Also here.
Commissioner McMahon? Here. Chair Newman?
Present. Tonight we have with us Deputy Community Development Director John Dugan. Mr. Dugan, are there any written comments, announcements, or continuances at this time?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a supplemental packet that's been distributed to the commissioners and posted containing written correspondence for items 7A and 7B, and we have a request for a continuance.
Very good. Based on Mr. Dugan's comment, I will take item 8A out of order. Madam Clerk, please open the agenda item 8A for a hearing.
8A, hearing having been advertised as required by law is hereby open to consider Agenda Item 8A, General Plan Amendment LU 2021-70215, Zone Change ZC 2021-70216, Specific Plan SP 2021-70397, Development Permit DP 2021-70214, Lot Line Adjustment LLA 2021-70398, Protected Tree Permit PTP 2021-70400, Development Agreement DAGR 2021-70399, and Environmental Impact Report EIR 2021-70442, located at 325 and 391 Hampshire Road, APNs 676-0-150-365, 375, and 285. The applicant is IMT Capital v. Hampshire v. LLC.
Thank you. Mr. Dugan, I understand we have some new information about this case.
We received recently some new comments from the public. I believe there's more time needed to respond to those, and the applicant has requested continuance.
Very good. And I have a speaker card for the applicant as Mr. Tom Cohen. Good evening, Mr. Cohen. We ask that you state your name and city of residence for the record.
Oh, thank you, Chair Newman. Tom Cohen, Thousand Oaks. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, IMT, and good evening to the members of the Planning Commission. We're here respectfully requesting a continuance of tonight's hearing. We, having received the information that is in your supplemental packet, we are requesting additional time to respond to that information that was received today so that we can be fully prepared to talk to you when the next meeting is set for hearing. So we thank you for your consideration of our request.
And just so we understand, we're asking for a continuance to a date certain
We are.
of
Yes,
June
please.
8th, 2022. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion for continuance of item 8A? Commissioner Lanson.
Chair Newman, yeah, I'll go ahead and make that motion to continue the matter. I guess
Discussion?
to a date certain of June 8th.
To a date certain of June 8th. Not hearing anyone wanting to discuss this, I'll ask the clerk to prepare us for a vote.
Commissioner Buss?
Aye.
Commissioner Lanson?
Aye.
Commissioner Ling?
Yes.
Commissioner McMahon? Aye. Chair Newman?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Very good. We will take this up on June 8th. Thank you. Now is the time for public comment. At this time, any person may address the commission regarding a city planning matter that is not on this evening's agenda. Should the commission wish to discuss an issue raised by a member of the public, the issue will be referred to staff for scheduling on a future agenda. Anyone who would like to speak under public comments must fill out a speaker card in chambers or click Request to Speak on the agenda to receive instructions before the public comments portion of the agenda is called. The speaker's remarks should be addressed to the commission as a whole and not to any individual commissioner or staff member. Unless otherwise provided by the commission, speakers are limited to 5 minutes. The screen will show you the remaining time you have. Do we have any public comments this evening?
No, I don't believe so.
Very good.
I'd like Michelle to confirm that.
Confirmed. No public speakers logged on.
Thank you. We'll move on then to our consent calendar. This has the minutes of our May 9th, 2022 meeting. Are there any comments? Do any of my fellow commissioners have comments or a motion? Commissioner Lanson.
Thank you, Chair Newman. I noted on Section B of the public hearing, specifically as to making the motion, it says my name instead of Commissioner Link, which is what it should indicate.
Thank you, Commissioner. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve those minutes as amended.
Very good. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask the clerk to prepare us for a vote.
Commissioner Buss?
Aye.
Commissioner Lanson?
Aye.
Commissioner Link?
Yes.
Commissioner McMahon?
Yes.
Chair Newman?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Next up, we have a department report, the 2021 General Plan and Housing Element Annual Progress Report, GPAR 2022-70210. Presenting this evening on behalf of staff is Senior Planner Kristen Rice. Good evening.
Good evening, Chair Newman and members of the Planning Commission. The presentation that I have for you tonight is to summarize the General Plan and Housing Element Annual Progress Report. This report covers the 2021 calendar year, which is the last year of the 5th cycle of the Housing Element, which covered the period from 2014 until 2021. This is the second year that staff has brought this report to you, the Annual Progress Report, starting with last year. We also presented this report to City Council earlier in March. And we'll continue to bring the progress reports to both City Council and Planning Commission every year going forward, as it's an opportunity to get more information out to the public. For some background to tonight's presentation, the California Government Code requires all jurisdictions to file a General Plan Annual Progress Report, Housing Element Annual Progress Report, and the Housing Successor Agency Annual Report to the State Office of Planning and Research, and also Housing and Community Development prior to April 1st every year. These reports summarize the progress of implementing the city's general plan and also the residential housing activity that occurred during the calendar year. The reports are required to be submitted to each jurisdiction's lead decision-making body in a public setting prior to submitting to the state. And as I just mentioned, this report was presented to City Council on March 29th and submitted to the state on March 30th in compliance with the April 1st deadline. In 2021, there were no formal amendments to the general plan in terms of the various chapters or topic areas, which includes land use, circulation, safety, conservation, open space, noise, scenic highways, social element, public buildings, and community forest. However, I do want to note that the City Council did endorse the new land use map last May as part of the comprehensive update to the general plan. This map will be in effect when the new general plan is adopted. However, because the land use map was not formally adopted last year, it's not considered an amendment for the purpose of reporting to the state. So, and also in terms of compliance with the State Office of Planning and Research, In 2017, OPR released a comprehensive update to the statewide general plan guidelines to address growing issues in safety and the new requirements to address environmental justice. These new issues will be addressed as part of the comprehensive update to the general plan. For many of the city's general plan elements, the goals and policies are implemented at the project level as part of the project's discretionary and environmental review process. That's when we're applying our various planning policies, our safety measures, tree preservation, et cetera. However, for some general plan elements such as circulation, conservation, and open space, there are a variety of non-project related programs that are used to implement the general plan, such as capital improvement projects that include a variety of pedestrian and safety improvements, the urban water management program, land management, land acquisition, and improvement projects. Moving on to the Housing Element Annual Progress Report. The report includes a summary of residential housing and building activity, completion of the 5th cycle RHNA, implementation of housing programs, the Housing Successor Agency Annual Report, and it also includes the amount of reimbursement the city sought last year from the LEAP grant. The report that is submitted to the state is prepared using HCD forms and specific definitions adopted by HCD. In addition to the items mentioned on the slide, HCD also collects data on the type of housing projects submitted to local jurisdictions, whether projects are approved or disapproved, the number of streamlined applications we receive, any requests for density bonuses, incentives, or also concessions. This slide summarizes Table A of the report's attachment number 1, which documents new residential development applications between January 1st to December 31st of 2021. There were 130 applications submitted to the Planning Division with a total of 758 residential units. A total of 271 residential units were approved by the end of the year, and at that time, 27 applications were still pending. The reason for the difference in the total number of units proposed, at least the large difference, which was 78 versus the approved, is primarily because one of those pending projects is for a large multifamily project, which contains almost 90% of the units. It is also the one that was just continued this evening, so we know that it will be coming back to you very soon, and should that project be approved, you would see more information on that in next year's annual report, which would be the first year of the 6th cycle. Also wanted to point out that none of the residential units proposed in 2021 were denied. And also, only formal applications that have been deemed complete are included in the housing activity summary. There were several pre-screens last year. Those are not included because they're not formal applications per the state. And entitled projects by the Planning Division that have not received building permits yet do not count towards the progress of meeting RHNA. This slide summarizes Table B of the report's attachment. It documents the total number of residential units that received building permits in 2021. A total of 76 building permits for new housing was issued, which includes 60 accessory dwelling units and 16 single-family dwelling units, 10 of which were Woolsey Fire rebuilds. This table summarizes the total number of building permits issued for the 5th cycle. From 2014 to 2021, the city's RHNA allocation was 255 residential units spread across the different income categories. The city issued a total of 773 building permits over the 8-year period, which is approximately 96 units per year. Most of the permits issued fall predominantly in the moderate and the above moderate income categories, with a deficit in the very low and low income categories. And I just want to point out that although the total unit count exceeded the overall number of RENA units, the surplus permits issued in the above and moderate income categories cannot be substituted or carried over into the very low and low categories. Therefore, the city met approximately 57% of the target RENA allocation. There were also 5 goals and 14 programs included in the 5th cycle housing element. These are just a few of the highlights from the implementation of the housing programs over that 8-year period. The city purchased a 4-acre site for $10 million to develop a 100% affordable housing project. They also issued several grants totaling almost $4 million to serve the homeless and those at risk, and to also rehabilitate existing low-income single-family units and multifamily affordable units. The city also invested more than $11 million for the acquisition and rehabilitation of 80 affordable units. And finally, moving on to the last report, the Housing Successor Agency report. Back in 2012, there was the dissolution of redevelopment agencies, and such that every year as part of our annual progress report, we are required to report on our expenditures, values, and inventory of assisted units. In 2021, approximately $150,000 was spent on administrative expenditures. The value of assets are over $36 million, and 6 units were assisted. Unfortunately, though, 2 units were lost due to covenant expiration. In conclusion, the city has continued to implement goals and policies and programs within the general plan and completed the 5th cycle RENA. Moving forward, staff is already working to implement the recently adopted 6th cycle housing element. The new housing element has 5 additional more programs and dozens more objectives, all with specific deadlines compared to the 5th cycle housing element. Just a few of the things that we have accomplished already this year is that the objective design standards were completed and adopted by City Council in February. City Council also has selected a contract for the Inclusionary Housing Ordinance and non-residential development linkage fee. So we are working with the consultants on that already and plan to bring forward recommendations from the study to City Council by the end of this year. And we are also planning to bring forward several zoning amendments related to housing by the end of this year and develop a procedure to monitor affordable housing development at the different income categories. And the last thing I will say is that we do plan on having additional goals and policies incorporated into the new general plan as we finished with the comprehensive update. This concludes my presentation on the 2021 general plan and annual housing element progress report. I do want to point out that staff did receive 1 letter of correspondence, which was included in your supplemental packet. I did respond, but I don't think it made it back into a follow-up supplemental packet. So that letter was from the Vulnerable Populations Housing Advocacy Network. They requested a copy of the report, and it was provided. And we look forward to working with them in the future. They are being added to our affordable housing developer and CDBG lists. And I made them aware that we do plan on having workshops for affordable housing developers in the future.
Very good. Thanks very much. Commissioners, are there comments or questions of staff? Commissioner Lanson?
Thank you, Chair Newman. Thanks, Ms. Rice, for your report. Just a few kind of follow-up questions. The first slide, I think you indicated that the housing element was submitted to the state end of March. Have you heard back from the state? When are we going to hear back? Any information about that?
Yes, we have heard back from the state. We did receive a second letter with some additional comments asking for more analysis.
Okay. Is that something then will be brought back before us at some point, or is that something that will be handled internally through the
It
staff?
will, yes, it will be brought back to you as with the rest of the general plan.
And then just to kind of make sure I understand the numbers, because I think it was kind of interesting. Going through the numbers you indicated, it sounds like for the 2021, there were 76 total permits, and if you take out ADUs and Woolsey Fire, we added 6 new dwelling units an entire year. Is that true?
That's correct.
That's not according to the numbers. The numbers you also indicated from our arena period were below lots of the different categories. Is there any repercussions to us as a city by virtue of not hitting those numbers for that cycle?
Well, not necessarily, no. We're required to show that we have the availability for sites to be developed, and that is the process that we're going through right now with the current housing element. And as long as we continue to proceed to work towards that, we might be okay.
I got asked by
But-
somebody, and I'm relating the question. They don't basically tack on what you didn't get to the next cycle to add that to the number, do they?
They have actually in previous cycles, yes. They have
Okay.
done that. We have not received word yet whether they will do that for this cycle or not.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner. Questions? Commissioner McMahon.
Yes, I have one quick question. Early in your report, you used the phrase environmental justice. Could you explain that to me, please?
Well, that's related to the general plan. It's a new state legislation that was passed a few years ago. It has to do with making sure that you locate housing in certain locations such that they are not in low concentrations of poverty or close to areas where there's high pollution. It's related to different environmental factors that would affect where people live.
Thank you.
Other questions? Commissioner Buzz.
Thank you, Senior Planner Rice. I just had one question since Commissioner Lanson asked about it. So on the 6th cycle of RENA, when I was at the Planning Commission conference, it was revealed that a very, very small percentage of cities have actually completed their reports. So where are we in the pack, just relatively speaking? Are we?
We're in the majority.
We're in the majority. Oh, I understand that we're not done, but do we have any idea where we are relative to other cities in the state, and how that impacts our funding or any issues that we'll have?
I probably would have to check with our housing consultant who works with dozens of other cities, but from what I have heard, we're in a similar spot with most other cities.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
And I'll come back to that 76 number. I'm pleased to see that there were so many applications for ADUs. It was nearly 80% of the total. And I like ADUs. I want to encourage their production. I was less pleased that all of them went in every single one, 100% of the allocations were in the above moderate income category. So on that point, 2 questions. One, just as a refresher, what do we mean when we say above moderate income? And 2, following up on Commissioner Lanson's comment about repercussions, there certainly are repercussions for people who are probably in the 3 other categories of moderate, low, or very low income if they're not able to take advantage of these ADUs. So the second question is, what can we do to start putting numbers up on the board in those categories for ADUs?
Okay, that was a few questions in there.
Well, what do we mean by above moderate, and
Sure.
what can we do to fill in the zeros that are in the rest of the?
Well, above moderate for this community is approximately more than $115,000 a year with a 4-person household. ADUs It is a little difficult for ADUs to be affordable because you typically don't have property owners that want to enter into a 55-year covenant, similar that would be required for affordable housing developers. But we are working on making adjustments to the housing element right now, in particular to ADUs, to provide more incentives to build those affordable housing, the affordable ADUs.
Is it the city's expectation that these incentives will generate, or at least can create the conditions to generate ADUs in lower income categories?
Yes, absolutely.
Great.
That is our goal.
Great. That's a goal I share. Thank you. And then the same question overall, in the 1 year ago report, and just a meta comment, I find these annual reports extremely helpful, especially the big chart showing production levels or housing permits issued at each income category. That's a very useful snapshot of where we're at. So last year, for the ending in 2020, for the 8-year window before that, there were, in percentage terms, we'd hit 516% of above moderate housing and 3% of low income. And then this year it went to 614% of above moderate and 3% of low income. So the gulf actually widened in the past year. So same question, what incentive-wise, what can we be doing as a city to fill in that disparity and create the conditions that will generate more housing in other categories?
Sure, absolutely. Well, one of the things that I mentioned earlier, which we're already getting started on, is the Inclusionary Housing Ordinance. So that's going to make a big difference in the other income categories. And also the non-residential development linkage fee will provide funding for additional housing in those other income categories. That's going to be the biggest. We also have objective standards, which will facilitate the production of streamlined housing. One of the things that I mentioned earlier was that staff is working on several zoning amendments related to housing. One of those, again, is to one of those actually is for AB 1397, I believe, which will allow for streamlined applications that provide a certain percentage of affordable housing. That's for multifamily projects. So we are working actively on several programs so that we can fill in the missing units and the gaps where we need to with the lower income category units.
Great, thank you. I have a couple of other questions, but I want to go to Commissioner Buss, who I think had a question about ADUs.
I just had a strange question about the ADUs because you mentioned that the potential for entering into a 55-year covenant. Would you be able to enter into a separate covenant for the ADU property relative to the primary unit on a property that you put an ADU on? Is that even possible, or would it go on the title of all of the units on that property?
That's a great question that I may need to defer to our attorney on that one.
No, it's certainly a good question, Chair, and Planning Commissioners, good evening. I actually think it would be something that would be placed on the property as a whole. With ADUs, it's interesting because it's really one ownership, and then that's what SB 9, for example, that issue that we have where they're splitting.
Well, that's what I was thinking, is
exactly.
if the unit itself stays at the same parcel, wouldn't it just be that entire parcel would have to enter into it?
Exactly
But if you subdivided it, then potentially...
That's SB 9, right.
Okay.
And I think also to Chair Newman's comments, I think we all know this, the state is certainly creating new legislation that is certainly an effort to incentivize developers to take on the challenge of adding a more affordable. And I will also state that we have several projects. The one that was proposed for tonight that's going to be on June 8th. That project, for example, is proposing 54 affordable. And again, that's with the development agreement, that's with Measure E units. And so we have those are kind of some of the things that we can do, that we're doing.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I was just asking because roughly 3/4 of our housing stock is single-family homes. So when we're talking about this potential, if there was a nonprofit interested in this, it would be a relatively inexpensive entry point for them to create some affordable housing.
Right.
So I was just thinking about the legal potential of that.
Right. And we have
if
the
there's
Hill-
anybody out there paying attention that works for a nonprofit.
And we have the Hillcrest site that we purchased, focused on that as well, of course. And just other opportunities that we're looking at, as Chris had mentioned, the Inclusionary Ordinance that we're working on again, we have it already, but we need to revise it with new data, right? You have to make the connection and the proper linkage. So we have those issues coming up as well. So there's been some state incentives that are happening now, and whether that encourages developers to take advantage of that is yet to be seen, right? But certainly with some of the DAs that we have, you see that as a common component to a DA in many cases, or some type of payment for such use.
Thank you. Thank you, Senior Planner.
Thank you. Commissioner Lanson.
Thank you, Chair Newman. One follow-up question, and I get this a lot with people concerned about trying to get the affordable housing for purchase. But it seems to me, looking at a lot of the potential projects, and again, the question to you is why are they pretty much, it sounds like mostly rental? Again, is a cost factor, is a development factor? Why is it most of those are going to end up probably being rental, at least designated that way?
Well, one of the reasons that it's more difficult for those with lower incomes to purchase the units is because they're still responsible for providing the down payment. And so the lower you get down to the very low income and the extremely low income categories, it's harder for those persons to save up the money if they're already so housing burdened. They're already spending 50% or more of their income on housing just to live. It's more difficult for them to save up the amount of money that they would typically need to be able to purchase the property.
So that's for that segment, and I'm assuming also that from what I've heard, cost has gone up. I think somebody had indicated between year to year 40% in terms of what the developer is incurring. Is that also what you're finding in terms of why those are going to be rental, maybe?
Costs have definitely increased.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Commissioner, just to be clear, you're referring to building costs, yes? Yes. Very good. I had a few questions around the general plan update and changes to it. I don't know if that's in or out of scope for tonight, so I'll ask my first question. If it's out of scope, feel free to say so, or say someone else has that answer or not. I'm not sure. But since we're talking about the housing element, my first question is that this had come up in a meeting a few months ago where there was a revised GIS map published I believe in December 2021. And it appeared to have some differences from the map, or perhaps had some differences from the map that was approved by the City Council in its May 25th, 2021 meeting. So that's my question is, what changes, if any, were made to the map between the May 25th council approval and the map that was posted in December?
I could try to answer that tonight, but I would like to ask from our deputy director if that is in fact something to answer tonight, or if that's...
Probably off the topic of the update report to the state. It gets into the substance of the general plan and the land use element. I think we would be best to wait until we have hearings on that.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate that this is a report on what's been done, not what's
Correct.
currently in
What
process.
has been done. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I will follow up an email to staff to ask those questions because I do want to discuss. There have been some changes made, and I do want to have a clearer sense of what those changes are. But let's do that when we're talking about the GPU specifically. Are there any other questions
I had a question.
of staff? Commissioner McMahon.
Yes, the inclusionary housing element, is that going to come to
Ordinance.
us first or just straight to the city council?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure. I would have to double check.
And the second question would be, how soon before that is wrapped up and presented to us or the city council?
Well, we are starting to work with the housing consultant now. It would take several months for them to do the initial research and do the study. There's also some public engagement that is planned for it as well. So we're trying to get the recommendations from the study done by the end of the year so that it gets to a decision-making body by the end of the year.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioners, any other questions of staff? Very good. Well, thanks very much for your presentation for the annual report. Thank you. Moving on, we go to commissioner comments and/or any AB 1234 reports. Are there any comments from? Oh yeah, do we take a vote to accept the?
It's your call. You can certainly take a motion to.
Is it?
We may have a public speaker. I'm not sure if she's still on or he.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize there was someone to speak on this.
They may have dropped off, but
I don't have a speaker card. Do we have someone on this topic?
on Zoom, Michelle?
Yes, we have a Jackson Piper who registered to speak for this item.
Great. Mr. Piper, I apologize. I did not realize there was a speaker tonight.
That's all right. I registered kind of late anyway, so.
No worries. If you could begin with your name and city of residence, and you have 5 minutes for your comments.
Thank you. My name is Jackson Piper. I'm a resident of unincorporated Newbury Park. Spent a lot of time in Thousand Oaks, obviously. I've been here for over 30 years. My comments on this item are basically that it's good to see these reports. I know that this is the end of the 5th cycle housing element, and I'm hoping that the 6th cycle will produce better results in terms of housing for low-income and very low-income categories, moderate too, but I think it's very well proven that Thousand Oaks is great at producing housing for higher income categories and quite frankly not good at producing housing for people who really don't make enough money to afford to live here, and that should not be the case in this community or any other community. A good community that's a healthy community is going to have housing available for every income bracket, every type of person that wants to live here. So I do hope we start to see improvement, and I would really strongly encourage this Planning Commission and the City Council to look at these reports as they come in the annual reports throughout the next housing cycle as opportunities to reflect on, whether the city's codes and ordinances and development standards are working properly, whether they're producing the lower income housing that we need, or whether they're standing in the way of things and need to be adjusted in some way or another to try and produce that housing. I certainly hope, and I don't expect it to happen right away. I think it'll take a few years for us to really start seeing a change, but I certainly hope with this new housing element, we are going to start seeing those low and very low income percentages rising up towards where they should be, which is, Thousand Oaks meeting 100% or more of those goals. So thank you, and that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Piper. I appreciate your comments as always. Are there any questions or comments for Mr. Piper? Thanks again. All right. I'm told that it's really discretionary in terms of whether we need a vote. We've received the report.
I just wanted to make an editorial comment, so.
Please, Commissioner Buzz.
I just wanted to thank you again, Senior Planner Rice, for the report and also bringing up an important issue. And I want to throw this out to anybody in the audience that might be paying attention and is as concerned about affordable housing as the rest of us are. There are three things that I can think of off the top of my head that I think are very important for us to consider and that we need to talk to our elected officials about, not just at the local level, but at the state and federal level. Number one is in California, it is nigh impossible for a developer to get insurance for a condo or townhouse association to build it. The reason for that is they say the number of lawsuits make it just very, very difficult for insurance companies to actually make any money on the deal. So tort reform issues in that would be something to talk with your elected officials about. Senior Planner Rice brought up the fact that for many people, saving up for a down payment when you're paying nearly or more than 50% of your income is a nigh impossibility. Once upon a time, we created things like FHA and Cal FHA, which allowed for reduced and subsidized down payments for people to get into homes at a very low cost. Those agencies haven't been updated in decades, and it would be nice if we could revisit them and try to create rules that make more sense for the generations coming up today. The third thing that I'd like to ask elected officials to do is to find ways to incentivize developers to build properties that aren't necessarily rental properties but are ownership properties. Everybody will say I'm a realtor, so of course it makes sense for me. But more importantly, it allows people to fix their costs, their housing costs over time. The reality is that rents have gone up 20% every year for the last 2 years, and that's unsustainable for most people. And on a track like that, unless you're getting a 20% raise, you're poorer than you were 2 years ago just by existing. So I would encourage all of you to reach out, local, state, federal level, and talk about these issues with your elected officials and bring them up, because those are keys to creating more affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Other comments, questions? Very good. I don't believe we need a formal vote we've heard a report, we understand the report, we appreciate the report very much. So unless we're passing a resolution of appreciation or something, I think we're good to move on to our next item. But thanks again very much. Appreciate it. Okay, very good. So now we'll move to commissioner comments and or AB 1234 reports. Commissioners, Commissioner Link.
Just wanted to say, as we are moving into the long holiday weekend, that I hope everybody has a celebratory and yet very respectful Memorial Day weekend. Remember why it is that we are celebrating this. And if you are traveling, to again travel safe, especially if you were driving. And we will see you again on June 8th.
Thank you. Other commissioner comments? Commissioner Lanson.
Thank you, Chair Newman. I had a question with regard to ConnectTO, which is an app that I use a lot, but I remember reading somewhere that it is being discontinued, and I don't know if a new app is now available. Oh, we have a hand. What am I downloading now to be able to use the same thing that ConnectTO uses?
Yes, it's hard to kind of juggle a lot of this information as we are talking about drought and many of these other items going on. But there is a new Connect to the City app. It's called MainStar, and we will be able to share more information about that, but it allows residents to report anything they might see in the roadway or other conditions that need attention right away. So,
Mr. Hadari, did you say MainStar?
Yes, MainStar.
Oh,
but it has a more of a fancy name to it. So it's just happening right now. The exact name escapes me, but
so it's not released yet.
It is.
It is.
Yes.
Is this
in fact, I'm looking for it in my.
Okay.
But
nothing like on the spot
so.
questioning.
Yeah. So we'll make sure to share that information with the planning commissioners once we. Yes.
When does ConnectTO go offline?
I think it pretty much already has. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So don't use that and use MainStar.
MainStar, but it has some other acronym or name that the actual app is associated with, but we'll share that information with the commission.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mr. Haydari.
Follow-up question for Mr. Haydari.
Almost got away.
Does this app work?
Yes.
Excellent.
In fact, it's tied to our existing platform that we've been using for all of our maintenance and work orders for several years at our municipal service center. So it's an existing program we've been using. It's just another portal of that program. So now we're merging our customer service interface system, input system, with our actual system that we use to enter all the work orders to get the work done. So now it's kind of more synchronized. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. I just have a quick comment about the very, very, very large number of campaign signs that are all over the place in this political season. Most of them are put up by people who are following the rules and are engaging in taking part in our democracy, and that's a wonderful thing. There are some that violate our city law as written, some because of a pending legal review the city is not at this time taking action on, but some they are. It is against the law to post a sign of any kind, political or otherwise, in open space or in public rights of way. And if you're bothered by that when you see several of them, as I do every day, you can call our city's code compliance and public works departments, and I'm sure they're getting tired of removing them all the time, but that is a necessary function to keep our open space and public rights of way clean. The public works number to call is 805-449-2400. Off my soapbox now.
Chair Newman, just to add to that,
Commissioner Lane.
if it's just to take the heat off the city, if it's within Caltrans right-of-way, don't call the city. Call Caltrans.
Right. And I'm sorry to report I have seen signs way up on on-ramps.
On-ramps, yes.
Of state
I have
highways.
seen that as well.
And it is to contact Public Works, it's not co-compliance.
It is yes.
Not co-compliance.
Right. The number I gave was the public works number.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. 2,300 is public works, but I did not, having gone through that myself. All right, Mr. Dugan, are there any follow-up items, announcements, or upcoming issues?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we've got several upcoming issues. On May 24th, City Council meeting, there are 2 contracts from Community Development on the consent calendar. There'll be a department report regarding initiating SB 9. Then on June 14th, the council will hear the IMT item that was was going to be heard tonight. It was continued, and there'll be several contracts on that consent calendar as well. On June, we just continued the item to June 8th. That was item 8A for tonight. That'll be the next Planning Commission meeting. Then on June 13th, the Planning Commission will have a public hearing regarding adding cannabis retailer adult uses as a permitted retail operation in the M1 zoning district, and a public hearing on a request to construct 4 multifamily residential buildings and related uses in 1 Baxter Way, another large apartment mixed-use project.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Dugan. Any other commissioner comments? Very good. Well, thank you all. This meeting is now adjourned to our next special meeting on June the 8th, 2022. Good night, Thousand Oaks.